百家骏马 100 houses coal. 百花清流 100 flowers will bloom. The great leap forward in China, they had this 100 flowers bloom was about freedom of speech.
Good evening to everybody. It is a very exciting moment in the short history of the Benimiני Center, who is celebrating 5 years of activity. To mark this event, the Benimiני directors decided to initiate an international multicultural project with the aim of beginning a dialogue. We chose quite a controversial subject, post-colonialism. Let me introduce you to Shlomit Bauman, the curator of the Benimiני Center. Shlomit, this is your idea and dream. A dream of a multicultural art event with visitors from abroad, with residency to the guest artists. I would like to thank our partners. Thank you for making the artists welcome in the framework of your institution. So how does one implement such a big project? It began with inviting our guest curator, Wendy Gers.
Oh my, look at all these flags. What's the reason? Is it a special national holiday?
No, we have neighbors here making t-shirts for the army. So the flags are part of our exhibitions every time.
When we started to think on this project, it was clear to me that the curator cannot be someone from Israel. Wendy Gers was the ultimate choice to deal with this multi-layered, complex project that's based on dialogue.
My childhood was during the sort of height of apartheid, and I grew up in a middle-class white family with a black nanny. I was very fascinated by this woman who I lived with, who had a very clearly different life. Even if I've been living in Europe for a very long time, I'm a white African, and I'll always be a white African, and I always feel if you scratch a little bit, I'm black there. And I keep telling people to scratch. It's a really, really privileged moment for me to be here sitting with you all. Thank you very, very much to Benimiני. You girls rock. Hey, you girls rock.
I wonder if the Benimiני Contemporary Ceramic Center is a post-colonial move, placing ceramics in the middle of the contemporary art scene in Tel Aviv.
In 5 years, you have really accrued a massive international reputation. For me, it's such an honor to be working with you.
A kind of research gallery, checking what is ceramics and what it can do. We're getting towards Jerusalem.
Where's the war? Gosh. Did you live through the war?
With my 19, it was NATO bombarding of Serbia. My town was bombarded with uranium. Now you have every person like they're dying from cancer, and women cannot really get babies and so on.
I'm sorry, I don't understand.
Passport.
I've got.
We had an open international call to all the artists, and we selected 19 artists from Israel and many places around the world. I would like to introduce you to the artists. So, Anthony Stelaccio.
I'm Anthony Stelaccio, and as a third-generation American, I suppose I'm the biggest colonizer in the room.
Oh, wow, that looks very exciting.
The form itself, the water tanks that you see on the roofs in the West Bank, water is a big issue. I'm really thinking about fixed points, things being forced, confined, and not able to move.
This stage, it looks wonderfully phallic.
And it will continue to look phallic, wonderfully phallic, yes. There's so much testosterone infused into the situation here.
It's all these 18-year-old kids.
With guns. So I'm totally okay with dicks.
This is a lovely neighborhood.
Very old Jewish neighborhood in Jerusalem, and always Jewish. It's nothing to do with occupation of the war. I came here as a student to Bezalel in the beginning of the 60s. It's a completely different country. Israel and Jerusalem before the Six-Day War, 67, and after. I came from Berlin, from West Berlin, and it's a place that doesn't exist anymore. It was also, and there are a lot of parallels. After the Six-Day War, I realized that I cannot divide between private and public. I printed pictures from the newspaper, and pictures from the photo album from the children. And they are awful scenes. I have to do something because we have to change it every Friday to the checkpoints against the occupation. So in the beginning I took a lot of pictures because I was so shocked. I went crazy all the time that nobody is interested. So leave me alone, I have enough problems with myself. Occupation can continue another decade as I'm a potter. And the clay is my medium. So I printed one day all the pictures on the dishes. We put food and wine and let the people eat from this awful stuff. And they eat and drink and it was a big success. I got unbelievable, more pessimistic later. So I do it for my children. So I used the same pictures. I printed them on segments of the wall. A few decades later, I decided one day, now it's time to give the chance to change. Today, I think it's even not for my grandchildren. I think we are going into a very big catastrophe. So we are preparing the evidence. It's not nice. I have to stop thinking because I will get crazy. So I sit here, I'm happy with the family and with friends, and we have to enjoy life.
Come here. I've had so much pain in the last few days.
No. Oh.
Come on, I can stop now.
היא בוכה גם כן.
Come.
The hump of the Israeli ceramic is archaeologic restoration of the past. The illusion of the restoration. I took some books. It's a grammar book. Important theories of the sentence. In Hebrew it has double meaning.
So is it about language or is it about law?
It's about language.
Okay. No Jaffa oranges.
My grandfather was the manager of a factory of Jaffa oranges. I collect ceramic dolls.
One is standing and active and others are seated.
This is a piece of ceramic from Tantura, Arab village. Israeli potter lived there. He wrote on his vessels Tantura till 67 war. And after it, Dor.
The town changed name?
Israel changed. And you see it on the ceramic. You see it on the ceramic.
It's occupied space that you're resettling and recolonizing.
I don't want to be an occupied person. Homi Baba said that the Indians learned from the English how to rule.
This question of mimicry.
Yes, from this point of view, I'm trying to combine things because I believe that you can create something that have meanings after it was broken.
Hello, my name is Neha. I come from Bombay because I was born in Bombay. But I am from Mumbai. In the India that I'm living in today, what it means to be Indian, to hate Pakistan. And I mean, we are the exact same people. So I mean, what it means to be patriotic.
Before we built houses, we planted trees to mark territory, root ourselves in a place. So
you've got interesting knees.
I am beginning to bring my body into my work, physical performance, gesture and motion. The work over there is I've drawn out objects from all of these stories that I've been reading that are about world events, but it's really about human beings. An Israeli soldier who decides that he wants to be fair, he takes packets of bamba to give the children, and they both share in the evening. He ends up in the house of this little kid.
Sorry, forgive me, it's been a really crazy 2 days.
Oh dear.
There's a tradition in South Africa of giving little African kids candies.
Okay. Aren't there situations like that in India or not at all?
Maybe it's a thing of being a foreigner out of context. All those guilt issues around occupation.
Yes.
Obviously, ceramics has become the new cool and super sexy. At the same time, the collector's market is crashing, and this generation of the 50s, 60s, 70s is not represented in museums on equal footing as key painters or key sculptors.
Anyway, globally, ceramic departments are vanishing worldwide.
It just becomes hobbyists and crafters who are teaching it as a craft.
As a field who is struggling on his own recognition, if we say we are part of art or part of design, it's our end.
Ah, the nerves.
Come on, you can.
Hello, I'm Adisa Mutsumi, but Tim is what people call me. What I've been looking at is the history of movement of people inter-African diaspora. After coming here, I found out that there's a pretty big black population of refugees living in Israel. Wendy, this is Sheena, and my mother here.
Okay.
This was from the class I was teaching yesterday. They were very happy with the process. I'm glad I was able to teach something to them. I think it'll become maybe part of the acquired knowledge in the department. Remember the proposal?
Yes.
This photograph was really a starting point for me.
In the mines, they would search your anus for diamonds.
For golden diamonds.
Yeah.
So initially the idea was to put up the hands. When I got here, there's that whole issue of body check. And Sheil made the link for me.
Maybe colonialism, it's evolution.
You mean it's like the human nature to be a colonializer? I think it's also the nature of men to control women.
And they'll say dog eats dog. The lion hunts the deer. Well done, well done. The words nature and tradition are abused and misused so much.
In this kind of project, this is like an obvious assumption that there is something to do with our nature. For me, it's like breathing air.
The necessity to breathe is something that I experienced very intensely growing up in very conservative towns. The local art museums were like space bubble. And so with this project, I feel committed.
When we entered Kriyat Shmona, once was an Arab village called Khalsa. It's a city surrounded by many socialist kibbutzim. It's a very conflictual relationship. Most of the population here are Jews from Arab countries, and the population of the kibbutzim...
Ashkenazi Jews.
Yeah. In a very weird way, the people from the city was working in a capitalistic way
for the kibbutz.
For the kibbutz. It changed because the kibbutz is privatized, actually.
Okay, so it's become...
Yeah.
Great.
Good? Where are you? Hello.
Hello, I'm Pablo from Argentina. When I applied for this project, I decided to travel and go to the West Bank together with Anthony. So here inside I want to show this film. Then I project here. Because when you look inside, you are in. One walls, two faces. The human will walls and we give to them the power. These walls have separate families and friends. There are also mental walls, walls that they are about human beings and in their minds. The walls are in constant movement. They are wandering hands that want to be ready-made.
I want to make sure I completely understand. This is considered something that no one can break. You need very heavy equipment to open this lock.
Okay.
So it's considered very, very safe. So if you don't want people to come in or go out, so... On your left, it's Syria. This is Quneitra. It was a Syrian city. And it's destroyed by Israelis in the war.
Gosh.
This is one of the memorials. You have many of those here in the Golan Heights. The open debate is on the West Bank, but on the Golan Heights, Oren's kibbutz also, it's a settlement actually.
My name is Oren, and I live way, way up north. Actually, the nearest big city to my kibbutz is Damascus, which I cannot visit. Being an Israeli artist, participating in this project is a very challenging process.
All of our proposal coming from this Syrian author. It's called המזעור הראשון, and they will squeeze it. עבד אל-נבי אל-סבן, גבר גדל ממדים גבוה ורחב כתפיים, נעצר והואשם שבכל רגע הוא נושם יותר ממכסת האוויר המוקצת לו. עד מהרה הובהל לבית החולים, ובתוך שבועות אחדים יצא אדם חדש, נמוך קומה, בעל חזה מצומק וריאות קטנות, הצורך פחות ממכסת האוויר היומית הרשמית המותרת. Both of us, we were really impressed by this short story. Its ability in just a few sentences to express the very methodical, clean-cut way that control mechanism controls individuals and force them to become something that fits.
Minefields, yeah, they are here around. Wow, I have this message from Manal. Hi Shlomit, it's really hard for me this project and I don't want to deal now with this issue, especially which is so personal. Wow. Come on, Manal. Hi Manal, we are here in Kfar Yasif. Maybe you just meet us for coffee.
Yeah.
That's fine?
Yep.
Okay, let's wait for the answer. How long do you want to wait? מנהל?
היי, שלומית.
קראנו את ה-SMS שלך ונורא התבאסנו, אנחנו רוצים לדבר.
אוקיי, אז בואי אחריי.
Okay.
Don't stop, Manal.
This kind of life I had, it was like this. And I didn't really realize what happened. I'm talking as a Palestinian human being living here.
Thank you so much for seeing us. And
You're welcome. You go to Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem, and work with people, study with people, learn from teachers, and it's not that easy. In the inside, I'm always having this anger, and I always try not to take it out in my works because I can't deal with this anger. Which post-colonialism? We're in the colonialism itself, and I live under this really huge statement. And
for me, growing up in South Africa with cultural boycott, I think that apartheid lasted so long in a way because we didn't have dangerous works that created platforms for dialogue. I put something on Facebook about this and for me it's totally clear in my head. I lived through cultural boycott and I know what that vacuum is, and I know that you've got a voice that is unique. Daring to dream or daring
yeah,
to hope?
Daring. That's enough.
Daring, yes, everything. I want to show you something, Shlomit.
Yeah.
Do you know kibbutz Manara? There's one that's written on it, Holy Land water filled in the Jordan River.
You are going to fill it with what?
Blood.
That's what I saw. But you raised something, and in our invitation.
But why was she ever referred to as Israeli?
Here, it's not legitimate.
What do you want to be listed as? Palestinian?
Yeah, I would prefer that.
Okay.
Now when you climb into your bed tonight, and when you lock and bolt the door, just think of those out in the cold and dark.
What do you think about
There's
post-colonialism?
not enough love to go around.
The weekend was really beautiful. The landscapes were something that I'd never seen before. Obviously, the Dead Sea was an incredible experience. With the artists, we all swam, and it was a very joyful moment. We had some fabulous lectures, one about the sinkholes and the exploitation of that natural resource by large mining companies for salt and potassium, and one about settler colonialism.
And when we talk about settler colonialism, we cannot talk about post-colonialism. Settler colonialism takes place every day.
אתם יושבים ביחד, גברים ונשים, ואני יושבת מולכם ומדברת איתכם פנים מול פנים. פעם זה לא היה ככה. זה אחד הדברים הטובים ששינינו אותם, שהאישה מעורבת גם בלקיחת החלטות.
There's not enough love to go around. No, there's not enough love to go around.
I think about my mom. She's learning how to be old. So she's getting used to falling down when she tries to do something that she used to be able to do. I've never dropped a piece before like that.
Please don't move my stuff. כולנו בטראומה. אבל זה גם רגע של הזדמנות לחשוב מחוץ לקופסה. מה קורה כשיש התנפצות? גם החיים שלנו מתנפצים לפעמים. Hi, my name is Ayelet Zohar. I'll be covering the Beniמיני house with camouflage nets. We're creating a project called Villa in the Jungle, which is a reference to Ehud Barak. He used the term Villa in the Jungle referring to the state of Israel in the Middle East. After saying such an expression, it caused a great stir, and many people referred to this sort of idiom as a symbol of Israel as a colonial power being positioned in the center of the Middle East. Now, why Israel is European, that's what I'm asking Mr. Barak. A Jewish state made of people who were refugees of European extermination is European? 70% of Israeli population is Arabs, and from Arab countries, Arab Jews. Is this European? In your dreams, I mean, the whole concept of Villa in the Jungle is a lie, and it postpones Israel's real ability to make peace with its neighbor and live truly in the Middle East as a Middle Eastern country, not as a European country. In 2009, in Gaza Zoo, the zebras died because there was a long hunger. And the zookeepers painted the donkeys into zebras with hair dye and masking tape. And I thought that was like the epitome of simulacra. You know, it's like Jean Baudrillard in Gaza, as is. But then Wendy came to the studio one day and she said, is another hybrid that looks like a cross between a zebra and a horse. Bingo, this is it.
Hello, I'm Daniela, originally from Serbia. I'm requesting borders as idea. I will try to focus on Israel because you have many borders. I want with people who are here, with their experience, to build this work. Because I believe that this kind of conflict situation can go forward if you make real dialogue. Israel is something that I know like since small. It's all the time chaotic situation. Later in my life, people then kind of like want to teach me how bad we are, like Serbs, what we're doing to another nations and so on. I coming from Belgrade. This country was in my childhood time changing like 4 times shape and name. What I am, you know, like you don't know anymore what you are. My mother's side from Macedonia, Germany. Father's side, Montenegro, Bosnians and Serbians, 7, 8 nations. We are made from all of this, you know.
From Iraq, Lebanon, Ukraine, Tunisia,
Black Sea, Armenia, Greece, Selanik, Macedonian roots,
the US, Germany and Russia,
North Syria.
Now, I would love if we start to build our territory, our work piece. We'll stay for 2 months. People will be invited to come here where we want to lead them.
I'm Sharbani from Calcutta. I am also live in a country that's not mine. And I'm working in the Al Farm Gallery, which is in an Arab neighborhood. This mind maps piece actually started with the diary that I found of my great-grandfather's. His life spanned the period of getting independence. So 15th of August 1947, 12 o'clock tonight, British rule in India ends. Saying Jinnah has promised that all minorities' rights will be taken care of. And of course, that didn't happen. We had one of the most bloody partitions in history, right? I mean, so many thousands of people died. And I deliberately chose not to have a real topographic map. You know, the British, they just drew a line. It went through fields, it went through villages, in some cases it went through a kitchen. There was no logic.
European rulers wanted to bring obelisks to their countries, deliver them in a very complicated logistic way to glorify himself. But he left a hole near the temple in Aswan, above the obelisks. The tents are very modest. You can fold them and go to another place. There is something in this simple way of life.
I'm Jonathan. The work in this project connected to the Envy project. I basically chose works that I envied the artists or designers for making them. And I was doing mostly graphic work, decoration, patterns, surface patterns. Quite a few pieces turned out to be these Armenian ceramic designs. They're part of a very long tradition that's passed on from generation to generation and changes very little from one creator to the next. Part of the post-colonialism idea is the question why something considered cool, of the time, contemporary, relevant, and another thing isn't, even though it's happening there. And I decided to set up a situation. I contacted Garo and Sonia Sandroni, pieces made for them out of ceramics, and then they hand paint them. And I have a special way of making my forms. I try to make non-archetypical vessels. I mean, look at this. It's all faceted, broken up, not round, but still it came out so Armenian. These patterns are so strong and doesn't look like something made now, here.
I'm part of the international group. I was born and raised here, but I live in England. Post-colonialism is something that's part of the experience of being an immigrant. There's 20% of me which is already British, and the rest is like a combination of all these mixed cultures of my family. The piece is called First Generation, Last Generation. My family, they were all first generation wherever they were born, and last generation. I think that I grew up feeling more the Argentinian culture. My dad is very romantic about Argentina. My mom, born and raised in Tangier, she considers herself Spanish. The Israeli culture suppressed all the Northern African Sephardi Jews. And then the videos, every time I go on the train in Europe, I take a 1-minute video. So it's almost like a contemplation of where do I want to live? Where? I'm learning to be comfortable with the fact that I can be both. It's okay.
Oh my God, during the last year I've been involved in social justice. If before that Israeli-Palestinian issue took my main interest, the center of my interest switches. קודם כל העניין הזה של להפוך בעצם את העשן לשטח פרסום, מה שאני גם ראיתי זה את קנה המידה. בעצם זה כבר לא שלטון של לאום או מדינות, גם הכוחות האמיתיים שאנחנו מדוכאים על ידם זה לא כוחות מדיניים, אלא בעצם אנחנו מגיעים כבר לגלובליזציה, קפיטליזם, שני הרעיונות שהיו יכולים להגיע למקום מאוד מיטיב של באמת איזושהי אחדות. זה הלך למקום בדיוק הפוך. We don't aware of what really happens. Erdogan, Donald Trump, Bibi Netanyahu, they agree about things, they sit together, and we are all the mass.
This is wrong, this is wrong.
It's not
rock, it's wrong.
Taiwanese culture a little bit similar to cocktail. You put many material inside and mix. Finally, you become a new liquid. Taiwan is occupied by many countries' culture. Dutch people, Japanese, Chinese.
So what are you?
Should be
Well, I regard myself, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a big issue. To myself, the body is Chinese, but here, thinking, I think I'm Taiwanese. But in a way, we also should know something from occupation of different culture. It's like a puzzle.
So when you use the mobile there, then
Make a link to the image of Taiwan.
every town is
every time.
Yeah, 729 images. For all the pixel of QR code, talk about a story of Taiwan.
Okay.
The post-colonial, they just culture occupation. So I choose QR code. It's just like a new Indonesian language. Yeah, I think this one, just like Taiwan, many elements become QR code.
So we're gonna go visit a wood turner because to do it any other way, it's too much time, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm tired of all this clay stuff.
Hi, my name is Corey Lunn. In my work, I'm interested in architecture and public space.
To establish Tel Aviv as Alt Neuland was required displacement of another people, another way of life. So I used this textile, which was mimicking an architectural material, sesame pattern tile flooring. So there's this textile that's not sitting flat, revealing its own incongruities, and it's held down by these weighty decayed microfoam bouquets as memorials to loss and tragedy delivered through the news media.
זה הרגע הזה של האחרי, זה פוסט-קולוניאליזם.
מחבקת אותך, טוני.
זה הטרנזישן הזה, זה מין מצב אחד שאתה נטול עצמך למציאות שהוא כולו שלך, אבל אתה לא יודע בדיוק מה לעשות איתה. עכשיו זה המתח, כאילו אם זה יעמוד או לא יעמוד.
את בסדר?
אני סבבה.
אוקיי, אז זאת שרה.
אנחנו ב3.5 דקות.
היא לא מסתכלת לחלום. היא מסתכלת פנימה. בגלל זה העיניים עצומות. כי תשובה לא תבוא מבחוץ. זה בעצם הרגע הזה של לנגוז בתפוח, זה הרגע. What disturbed me was the wound on the stomach. It wasn't clear what it is, and I understood that I just have to go through. And I think it's now clear that it's an intervention and it's not a kind of distortion.
There was a question about materials and fragility. There was a thought that I would sit down with some glue and actually repair it. But I think that question about whether it can be put back together again was a very appropriate question for post-colonialism. Like you have all these fragmented land. Is there some process by which you can put it back together again? I didn't. I just made something new. Maybe that's the answer.
Now when you climb into your bed tonight, and when you lock and bolt the door, just think of those out in the cold and dark, 'cause there's not enough love to go round. And sympathy is what we need, my friend. And sympathy is what we need. And sympathy is what we need, my friend. 'Cause there's not enough love to go round. No, there's not enough love to go round. Now half the world hates the other half, and half the world has all the food.
Especially because the theme is so heavy.
Okay, now you're just bullshitting.
This is exactly it.
Another one.
There's all these contradictions, and that's why I feel like I'm bullshitting half the time.
I'm definitely bullshitting. I'm bullshitting all the time.
No, but there's an element of truth in the work, but it's also performative. Like this
is
being in front of a camera,
yes.
it becomes performative. There's an element of fakeness within the whole work, and then you're really just hoping that it will sell.
And half the world lies down and quietly stops, 'cause there's not enough love.
I want to welcome Renal Broadcast. He's also a project participant in what he's doing.
They want to visit him. He said it depends if it's in the colonial space or the post-colonial space.
Within the ceramics fraternity, there's a real lack of engagement with difficult questions. Making this exhibition, it's a gesture of leadership. I was recently in Barcelona for the International Academy conference. The Beniminé brought a show. It was the best curated show. Israeli ceramics is out there, and it's due to Marcel, Shlomit, and the team. Obviously, the post within colonialism hasn't arrived yet, Israel, and that's really reflected by the artists. There's a real anxiousness about these works, but they all speak of questions of resistance, of how we can create counter-narratives. And this is why this exhibition is a milestone. We've all changed, and I honor you all with that speaking out.
No, there's not enough love to go round.